Alrighty, guys. Once again, I'm coming off a nice 4-2 day in my personal sports bets on my website yesterday. Once again, guys, that site is called patreon.com/BrockPage. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my NBA free pick video here today for Friday, March 31st, 2023. Happy Friday to you. The weekend's finally here. And of course, this is our part 2 video here today, a 2-part series for March 31st. Guys, my name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks right here on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to see which one of these free picks on these videos that I'm actually betting on personally, you may want to think about signing up for a membership on my website. I currently have over 585 members who are signed up and active on that site right now. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and begin. We're going to take a look at the Hawks at the Nets, 7:30 p.m. East. Atlanta's the 1-point favorite, totals 240.5. And even though the Hawks are the slight favorite, they did lose 6 out of their last 9. And they play their worst basketball on the road. These guys are just 16-22 while traveling. They're also allowing nearly 120 points per contest in those road games. Now they're facing a Brooklyn squad who still shoots it really well from anywhere on the court. They're actually in the top 5 in offensive three-point percentage at home. They're also making nearly 50% of their field goals at any location. Nicholas Claxton's making over 70% of his attempts from the field. He's also averaging nearly double-digit rebounds a game. Meanwhile, Seth Curry drills 40% of his shots from beyond the arc. When it comes to the injury report, the Nets are mostly healthy at the moment. Meanwhile, for Atlanta on the other side, DeAndre Hunter and Jalen Johnson are questionable for them. Now, when it comes to the total, Atlanta's 23-15 to the over on the road this year. Meanwhile, Brooklyn went 60% to the over in their last 10. Overs against the likes of Miami, Cleveland, and Denver. Give me Brooklyn +1 over 240.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Knicks at the Cavaliers, 7:30 p.m. East. Cleveland's -3.5, totals 222. Now, Cleveland has been insanely tough to beat in their own building. They're 30-8 this year in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. They also covered the point spread in 66% of those home games. The Cavs' biggest strength this year is their defensive play. Cleveland allows fewer points per contest than any other franchise in the NBA. Evan Mobley has a whole lot of blocks on the season and also grabs 6 defensive boards per contest. Meanwhile, Donovan Mitchell scores a team-best 27 points a night. Now, they're facing a Knicks team who's had all kinds of problems on the offensive end of the court. These guys actually have one of the lower offensive field goal percentages in the Eastern Conference. And in their last 10 meetings with Cleveland, the Knicks have been held to just 104 points a game. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Now, injury-wise, the leading scorer, Julius Randle, he is out indefinitely with an ankle. Meanwhile, Daquan Jeffries and Dwayne Washington, they're also inactive. Meanwhile, for Cleveland on the other side, Green and Okoro are out. Neto and Allen are questionable. When it comes to the number, Cleveland saw unders against the likes of the Hawks, Rockets, and Wizards. They also went 60% to the under in their last 10 head-to-head meetings with New York. So once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. Now, the Knicks saw 4 out of their last 6 road games stay under the total themselves. Give me Cleveland -3.5, under 222. Next ball game, Jazz, Celtics, 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Boston's -13.5, totals 231 and a hook. Now, the Celtics are scoring more points a game at home than any other team in the Eastern Conference. Jason Tatum's averaging a team-high 30 points a game, along with 8 rebounds. Meanwhile, Malcolm Brogdon's shooting over 44% from three-land. Now, they're facing a Utah team who allows nearly 120 points a game in their travels. They're also going to work without Rudy Gay, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and Lauri Markkanen. Kelly Olynyk, he is also questionable. Now, total-wise, Utah's 71% to the over in their road trips. Meanwhile, Boston's 23-14 to the over in the Garden. Give me the Celtics -13.5, over 231 and a hook. Next game, Pistons, Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Houston's -6, totals 229. And for a team laying a couple of baskets here, the Rockets still haven't won a game in 2 weeks. They're currently on a 7-game losing streak, and they're also the worst three-point shooting team in the game. Houston's currently the worst. They've got, let's try to spit that out, Brock. Houston's got the worst record in the Western Conference. They're facing a Detroit team who covered in their last 2 straight, covers against the likes of OKC and Milwaukee. And believe it or not, guys, Detroit's a staggering 11-3 against the spread in their West Coast road games, good for 79%. Jaden Ivey leads the active roster in scoring. Meanwhile, James Wiseman scoring over 13 points a game himself, along with 8 rebounds. Now, injury-wise, Burks, Bogey, Magruder, and Stewart are still inactive. Meanwhile, for Houston, KJ Martin is day-to-day. Jayshawn Tate is out for them. When it comes to the total, Houston saw their last 5 straight at the Toyota Center stay under the number. Meanwhile, Detroit is 64% to the under in their West Coast road games. Give me Detroit +6, under 229. Next game, Clippers, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Memphis is -6, totals 234.5. And even though I'm not a huge fan of this number here, I do think the Grizzlies should be able to get the job done. They're 33-6 at home this year, and they're the toughest team to shoot against in their own building. The Grizzlies hold their opponents to a league-low 43% shooting from the field in their own arena. Jaren Jackson has a ridiculous amount of blocks this season and also grabs 5 defensive boards a night. Meanwhile, John Morant, he is snagging 5 boards a game himself. He's also the team leader in scoring. They're facing a Clipper team on the other side of things who's banged up right now. Got a couple of guys on the injury list. They're still going to work without Marcus Morris, Brandon Boston, and Paul George. And when it comes to offensive production, the Clippers are averaging fewer points a game than most clubs in the West. Now, injury-wise, once again for the Clippers, Morris, Boston, and George are out. Kawhi Leonard's also listed as questionable as well, so you're going to want to keep an eye on him. When it comes to the number, the Clippers saw unders recently against the likes of the Blazers, Magic, and Knicks. Meanwhile, Memphis saw 2 out of their last 3 stay under the line themselves, unders against the likes of the Hawks and Magic themselves. Give me the Grizzlies -6, under 234.5. Next game, Lakers, T-Wolves, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Minnesota's -1, totals 232. Now, the T-Wolves have definitely struggled defensively this year. They're nearly dead last in guarding the three-pointer at home. They're also in the bottom 5 in defensive boards in their own building. Now, they're facing a Laker team who, they rebound pretty well on the road. They're actually in the top 5 in the NBA in defensive boards while traveling. Of course, Anthony Davis, he grabs a dozen rebounds a night, and he's also scoring 26 points a game. Now, D'Angelo Russell, he's scoring 18.5 points a game himself. When it comes to the injury report, LeBron James is still questionable for LA. Meanwhile, for Minnesota, Rivers, Anderson, Towns, Prince, Noel, and Edwards are questionable. Naz Reid is still out. Now, total-wise, Minnesota saw overs in 6 out of their last 10 outings. Overs against the likes of the Hawks, Knicks, and Raptors. Meanwhile, the Lakers saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the total themselves. The Lakers also saw overs in 21 of their road games this year. Give me the Lakers +1, over 232. Next matchup, Kings, Blazers, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Sacramento's -14.5, totals 231. Now, Sacramento won 6 out of their last 9. And they score a league-high 121 points per contest. De'Aaron Fox, he averages a team-best 25 points a game, along with 6 assists. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis makes 61% of his field goals. He's leading the league in rebounds. Now, they're facing a Portland team who's given up, packed it in for the 2023 season. Lillard, Nurkic, Grant, Winslow, Simons, Johnson, and Badji are out. May not see the rest of them. You're not going to see Lillard, but all those guys, you may not see them for the rest of the year. Meanwhile, Watford, Reddish, and Archidiakono, they've all been downgraded to doubtful. So, yeah, this Portland team is going to be unrecognizable here today. Now, total-wise, not sure Portland's going to be able to score enough to get this one over. They actually saw unders in their last 3 straight. Meanwhile, Sacramento, believe it or not, they've gone 23-14 to the under in their road games. Give me the Kings minus 14.5, under 231. Next game, Spurs, Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Golden State's minus 16.5, totals 241. The Warriors are scoring more points a game than any other team in the NBA except for Sacramento. Steph Curry averages 29 points a game and drills 42% of his long balls. Meanwhile, Klay Thompson's drilling 40% of his attempts from downtown. Now they're facing a tanking San Antonio team who has the second worst record in the Western Conference. And no real surprise here, guys. The Spurs allow a league worst 125 points a game on the road. Now, injury-wise, Collins, Birch, and Sochan are out. Vassell, Langford, Johnson, and McDermott are questionable. When it comes to the total, I don't think the Spurs can score enough to get this one over. They also saw 3 out of their last 4 road games stay under the total. Now, Golden State's 24-15 to the under in the Chase Center. Give me Golden State minus 16.5, under 241. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. It's going to be in the Nuggets-Suns game, 10:30 Eastern tip-off. Phoenix is minus 8.5, totals 227 and a hook. Now, the Suns won their last 3 straight, and they've definitely been tough to score against at home. They're in the top 5 in defensive points per game on their home court. DeAndre Ayton has a handful of blocks on the season and also grabs 7 defensive boards a game. Now, Devin Booker scoring a team-best 28 points per contest. They're facing a Denver team who's got the 3rd worst defensive field goal percentage on the road in the entire NBA. No real surprise here, guys. Denver has a losing record against the point spread away from home. Now, injury-wise, Jokic, Murray, and White are questionable. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Denver saw their last 7 straight all stay under the number. Meanwhile, Phoenix saw unders in 21 of their home games. Give me Phoenix minus 8.5, under 227 and a hook.